Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Thanks for being here. We have two great guests, Ted Cruz and Katie Pavlich. Before we get to our guests, you hear a lot of Hitler these days from the Democrats, from their media, maybe from a general or two. And I got to thinking, what do people know about Hitler? It could be half the country doesn't have the foggiest idea. The Democrat Party has been very successful in dumbing down what Hitler did and what the Third Reich means. In fact, the Democrat Party has been calling Republicans Hitler from Barry Goldwater to Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, Richard Nixon, John McCain, Mitt Romney. They called Nikki Haley, Eva Braun, Hitler, Hitler, Hitler. And of course, Donald Trump, they must have said it a million times. It's because Kamala Harris is sophomoric. She's childish. She lacks substance. And so she lashes out. And the amazing thing about the people using the word Hitler, they come from a party who has members that worship Hitler, who talk like Hitler, who attack the Jews, who are anti-Semites, who attack the state of Israel. Talib, Kamala Harris has supported her re-election. Omar, Kamala Harris has supported her re-election. AOC. The Democrat Party is the modern neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic party in the United States of America, and I'll get to that in a minute. I want you to look at this little montage of how they treat Trump, fascist, dictator, Hitler. Go.
This is stuff from the 1930s. This is Hitler stuff.
Yes, he is an authoritarian figure.
General Mark Milley was quoted saying Donald Trump is fascist to the core. What is driving Harris to support this language publicly?
I mean, it's the truth. It's what people believe. And I think that she wants the American people to really take a hard look at who she is running against and who could be the president and in charge of the nuclear codes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a feral guy. Like, he's a very animalistic human being.
I think this one is, don't risk it with this. This is dangerous talk. This is the talk of dictators.
The use of the word Hitler, Scarborough Show, it is constant. MSNBC constant. CNN, the use of the word Hitler is ubiquitous. As a Jew, it disgusts me, particularly when we have a party and a media and a candidate, Kamala Harris, when it comes to October 7th, undermines the state of Israel and gives safe cover to some of the things that the enemies of Israel have done, particularly when this administration has surrounded itself with anti-Semites, Jew haters, a rat's nest of Jew haters at the State Department and in the National Security Council. And this isn't new. Like I wrote in my book, The Democrat Party Hates America. I have a chapter 2, anti-black racism and anti-Semitism. Franklin Roosevelt at his State Department during the Holocaust, horrific. And same with the New York Times and the rest of the media, horrific. Chapter 3, anti-white racism and anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism has been a constant in the Democrat Party. It's in our streets, it's in our universities, it's in our colleges, it's in our culture, and they control it all. But Donald Trump is Hitler. So I think it's time that we take a look at who Hitler is. Because if I don't do it, nobody's gonna do it. So graphic warning, go.
Originally, German occupation authorities established ghettos to concentrate Jews and separate them from the non-Jewish population. Later in the war, many ghettos served as staging grounds for the transportation of Jews to the east, euphemistically called resettlement by the Germans, who promised their captives better conditions and opportunities to work. The Germans and their collaborators deported roughly 2.7 million Jews and others to killing centers in German-occupied Poland. At the largest of the camps, Auschwitz-Birkenau, transports arrived from all across Europe. Those whom the SS judged unable to work were killed, often within 2 or 3 hours of arrival, in several killing facilities exclusively designed to kill human beings on an industrial scale. Camp authorities used poison gas to murder children, women, and men. At these killing centers, nearly half of all Holocaust victims died. As German military forces advanced, mobile killing squads advanced with them. The German army, military SS, and German police units took an active part in authorized mass murders. The Germans and their accomplices rounded up the victims, drove them on foot or in trucks to a killing site, often made them remove their clothes, and shot them. Participants in the murders included local collaborators, especially police, in Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Ukraine, and Belarus. The German killing squads and their auxiliaries murdered at least 2 million Jewish men, women, and children in mass shooting operations. In April 1945, U.S. troops in Germany and Austria came upon concentration camps at Buchenwald, Dachau, Nordhausen, Mauthausen, and Ohrdruf. The soldiers saw the camps with their own eyes, and the truth was undeniable. General Dwight Eisenhower, commander of the Allied Liberating Forces, wrote, "The things I saw beggar description. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were overpowering."
Dead prisoners hurled out and stacked in twisted heaps. Dead women like marble statues in the mire. This was what these inmates had to live among and die among. The dead which lay there were not numbered in hundreds, but in thousands. Not 1 or 2,000, but 30,000. Here is a pit where the inmates, in order to earn food, had to drag the bodies of their comrades, but they were too weak to keep up with the rate at which they were dying. So the pit remains only half filled.
Well, and what happened on October 7th was the worst thing since that. You look how our media, our colleges, universities, and the Democrat Party have turned on Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, how they use the Hamas Nazi statistics against the Jews, how they use blood libels and talk about the Jews in Israel committing genocide. Kamala Harris did that. Let's take a little peek at Donald Trump. First, his father, Fred Trump. Take a look at this. Go.
In 1955, Holocaust survivors looking to begin their new lives were arriving by the hundreds in Brooklyn. They quickly outgrew their synagogue that was run from a garage, prompting their rabbi to meet with the building's owner, Fred Trump. Today, the Beach Haven Jewish Center stands strong on a plot of land given to the Jewish community for $10 by Mr. Trump. Fred Trump made it his priority to help construct the solid brick synagogue to provide a lifelong place of worship to survivors arriving from Poland, Germany, and Austria, and their families still worship there today. Passing by a simple plaque on the wall that reads, "Fred Trump, Humanitarian." 62 years later, Donald Trump followed in his father's footsteps to erect another building, the United States Embassy in Jerusalem. Israel has no better friend than President Trump.
President Trump is the only president of the United States to go to the Western Wall, one of the holiest sites in the Holy Land for the Jews. In her 4 years as a vice president, Kamala Harris never went to Israel. Anymore, I guess, than she went to the border. I want you to take a little look at this, too. Who they call Hitler. Donald Trump. Go.
Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering.
There he is, President Trump, praying at the Western Wall. Americans have never seen anything like this before. Look at him. He's wearing a kippah. Does he look like Hitler to you? That's May 2017. He didn't do this for political reasons. The Jewish population is a tiny percent. Now look at this. This is October 7th, honoring the anniversary of the horrific events that took place since the Holocaust in Queens, New York, with Chabad rabbis. Kamala Harris wasn't anywhere to be seen. Neither was her husband, Dougie Emhoff. Neither was Joe Biden. This is a man whose daughter converted to Orthodox Judaism, whose son-in-law is an Orthodox Jew, and he has 3 Orthodox Jewish children. How dare Kamala Harris and these Democrats compare him to Hitler? When they're the party of Tlaib and Omar and Bernie Sanders, when they're the party that has been undermining the state of Israel and its ability to destroy Hamas and Hezbollah, they've been funding Iran. They funded terrorism in the Middle East. They funded UNRWA. They funded the PLO, the Teller Force Act, which Donald Trump got passed to prevent the funding anymore of terrorist activities by Abbas, the Palestinian Authority. Yes, Donald Trump is the best friend the Jews in Israel ever had, and he's the best friend the Jews in America ever had. Franklin Roosevelt blocked Jews from coming into this country who were trying to escape those death camps you saw. Yes. And he also persuaded the New York Times, which is more than happy to follow, owned by a Jewish family, to cover up the Holocaust. And there have been books about it, and I've talked about it before. And how that damnable corporation participates in this ruse, this lie about Donald Trump, the dictator, the fascist. Donald Trump, that's right. Hitler. Well, for Jews, I can tell you this. At least Jews who know what the hell happened in their history, at least Jews who believe in their faith, I can tell you this. We're disgusted by the Democrat Party and their propaganda. What they say about Trump. They didn't lift a damn finger, that party or this administration or Kamala Harris, during those riots against the Jews, which reminded me of Kristallnacht, which reminded me of the Third Reich. Just last year in the United States of America at our Ivy League colleges. That's right, the burning of the American flag, the carrying of Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, the Muslim Brotherhood flags, and the Palestinian flag. Who's the leader of the peaceful Palestinians? Would he please step forward? Kamala Harris wants the vote of these people. She had a secret meeting in Dearborn, Michigan with the mayor. That's Jihad Central. I'm not talking about Muslim. I'm talking about jihadists and Islamists. And so now they bring out John Kelly, a general. And John Kelly says, by God, 4 years ago, you should have heard Trump talking about Hitler and the Hitler generals. Nobody ever heard this. Just John Kelly. Nobody ever heard this before. The Daily Wire points out John Kelly's history of anti-Trump activism and smears is a history of smearing Trump, like many former aides looking to continue their careers. He rebuked Trump for firing Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who leaked a private phone call between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky and gained a hero status on the left. He also attempted to recruit others to defy Trump when he was president. The Daily Wire has reported previously. He tried to recruit then UN Ambassador Nikki Haley to his group, saying he was doing it to save the country. And when Trump fired Kelly, the former four-star general was singing a different tune, defending Trump and saying he consulted multiple sources for information before making a decision, but now he's had second thoughts. Yet, a man who was chief of staff to Mike Pence, no friend of Donald Trump's, and who was around all the time, Kelly is chief of staff, he had to put out a statement. I've avoided commenting on intra-staff leaks or rumors or even lies as it relates to my time at the White House. But General Kelly's comments regarding President Trump are too egregious to ignore. I was with each of them more than most, and his commentary is patently false. But the Atlantic that hates Trump, and of course doesn't practice journalism, in my view, they go with one anonymous source on another false story where the daughter had to come forward and say that's a lie. And now they regurgitate this stuff. But people don't remember the Democrats used to hate Kelly when he was the head of DHS. They called him indecent, immoral, corrupt. They disgraced, a hypocrite. Even Harris, as Just the News reports, said he has an inability to speak truth to power to this administration and lacked a grasp of the implications of the policy perspectives he was supporting. But I want to get into this general stuff. Let's get into this general stuff. Dictators. You know who was called a dictator? John Adams, for the Alien and Sedition Act. You know who else was called a dictator? President Andrew Jackson. You know who was called a dictator? Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln had a lot of generals he couldn't stand because they were just like Kelly. They were just like Mattis. They were just like Milley, who dares to come forward, because the disgrace of Afghanistan will be right there on his epitaph, Milley's epitaph, for the rest of his damnable life. Generals that Lincoln had problems with: General John Fremont, General Benjamin Butler, General Carl Schurz, General McClellan, General McClellan, General John Logan, General John Dix, General John Porter, General David Hunter, General Henry Halleck, General Winfield Scott, General Joseph Hooker. He either fired them, he removed them, he replaced them and switched them with other generals. When the generals did not live up to the president's expectations, Lincoln changed them. Ultimately was commander-in-chief, quote, even after Ulysses S. Grant became general-in-chief in March 1864. Lincoln maintained a significant degree of strategic oversight. He was a hands-on commander-in-chief who persisted through a terrible ordeal of defeats and disappointments to final triumph and tragedy at the end. He was assassinated, just like they tried to assassinate Donald Trump. And this propaganda about Hitler may wind up putting a bullet in Donald Trump's head. And I don't think these bastards give a damn about it, quite frankly. I really don't. And if you want to talk about anti-Semitism, it's you, Kamala Harris. It's the things you have said about the Jews. It's the things you have said against the state of Israel. It's the things you have said in favor of Hamas and our enemies. You talk out of both sides of your mouth. Both sides of your mouth. So I want you to know, the American people, that generals speaking out and trying to destroy a president, that's not new. That a media calling a president a dictator, that's not new. I want you to know that anti-Semitism on the left, whether it's the New York Times or the Washington Post, whether it is Franklin Roosevelt and his rat-filled State Department, like our rat-filled State Department today, and whether it's the current administration, filled with Iranian sympathizers that funded Iran, that funded Hamas, that attacked Israel. This current administration, with Kamala Harris as the number 2, is the most anti-Semitic, anti-Israel administration in history. And they bring up Hitler because Kamala Harris is pathetic, sophomoric, childish, no substance, is illiterate in English, doesn't know what she's talking about. And she wants to be president of the United States because she thinks it's owed to her. You better wake up, America. I'll be right back.